Hi guys, welcome to my first video, and I'm going to be showing you how to create this blue kind of smoky-ish eye using the new Urban Decay Wild West palette, and then I'm going to give some of my thoughts on it. I've used it before because this is actually a remade video. The first take didn't turn out so well, and I made some mistakes, so I wanted to just remake the whole video. I thought it would be easier. So anyways, if you would like to, please like this video at the end if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. It really helps and I appreciate it so much. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Alright, so I'm taking in a dark eye shade basically to fill my brows in, because I am totally out of brow powder. So I've just been using a dark eyeshadow and a angled brush to fill them in, and I'm kind of doing this kind of sloppy, but I'm just trying to get the general shape down so that I can clean them up. And just doing the same thing to the other side. So I've got my clear brow gel out, and this is exactly what I'm going to use to hold my brows in place, as well as separate each individual hair so that they look a little more defined. Alright, so now I'm just taking some concealer, and I'm going to use that to set my eyes for a primer. And I'm just going to blend that in using a damp beauty sponge, and just letting that product kind of cover all the discoloration in my eyes. Alright, and now I've taken out my Coty Airspun translucent powder just to set the eyes. And I like to do this anytime I use concealer or an eyeshadow base, because I feel that my colors blend on top much easier. I don't know how people are able to just go in with a base and just like start doing eyeshadow. I feel like I would have a patchy mess, but anyways. And here's the star of the show, the Naked Wild West palette, and I'm going to show you the shade I'm going in with in just a second. So I'm going to use this shade Laredo, and I'm just going to keep swiping it across back and forth in my crease to build up depth, and I'd repeat this process a couple times just until it's as dark and deep as I want it. And now I'm just taking a lighter brown shade called Nudie towards the front of the palette, and I'm going to use that to blend out all the harsh edges on the sides of my eyeshadows, just so that it stays nice and clean. And then I'm also dipping into text with a large fluffy blending brush, and then I'm going to pack that on the inner and outer corners of each eye. And you'll just see me doing that several times and trying to blend out the result. I did get a lot of fallout with the shade, as you can see, and I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I was gonna clean it up anyways, but I mean, it's pretty substantial, especially I think because of the way I was blending under my eye. But now I'm just taking that MAC 224 brush and just trying to airbrush blend those colors out. Sorry, I am having such a hard time talking today. Alright, and it does seem like this shade in particular is really patchy because I don't feel like the other ones come off that patchy. But anyways, that's why I keep having to dip back into text and then reblend it back on my eyes, because it's getting more and more difficult to get the vibrancy that I want if a color is not building like it's supposed to. But with eyeshadow, you kind of just gotta trust the process and know that when you clean it all up in the end, it's gonna be really beautiful. But for the time being, it does look like a hot mess. So yes, I acknowledge that. You'll see I have my e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer and a little shader brush because I'm going to cut the crease here. So I'm just using that concealer again, the same concealer I used to prime my eyes, and I'm just going to cut out like the first half, maybe like to 2/3, like the first half to 2/3 of my eyelid, and then I'm just going to blend that softly into the dark blue in the corner using my finger and some patting motions, and time to repeat the process on the other eye. And now you'll see I'm ready to put on the shade Bud, which is the most beautiful color in the palette in my opinion. I just love turquoises and teals, and so I really love the way that this color packed on, and I didn't even need to wet the brush. I didn't need to use my finger. It was just super pigmented right out of the pan, and so I just packed that all over where I cut my crease. And I was just really super impressed with the pigmentation for this shade in particular. So now you'll see I'm just blending out the edges yet again because I really want this to have a gradient to it, like a natural gradient. So I'm just taking all those colors and diffusing them with a blending brush, and also going into some lighter colors to help that out. Alright, so now I'm taking some of the shade Cowboy Rick and I'm just patting that right on top of the shade Bud, just to add a little bit more of a lighter shift to the color. I wanted to make the color appear a little bit more bright than it did. And then I'm just using a makeup wipe to clean up all of the fallout that happened underneath my eyes. It was quite a lot. But now I'm taking my Wet n Wild Megaliner and I'm just going to do my wing liner real quick. And I start that by just doing a thin line across the upper lash line. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't know why it's just me, but I feel like eyeliner is the most like important step to me. It's the step that I don't want to screw up the most. So anyways, I've got both those lines down, and what I like to do to make sure my eyeliner comes out even is to draw a line extending outwards on one side, do it again on the other side, and make sure that they're at the same angle. And then this will make sure that your wings are always even, or at least at the same angle, because I've seen some pictures and had my own experiences where, you know, they're going like totally opposite directions, and that's not what we want. So luckily this little trick kind of helps avoid that. Alright, and then now I'm just showing you the finished wing. Very proud of it, and I'm just going to repeat the process on the other side. Sorry that it's kind of covered up. I will try to fix my camera angling so that you can actually see this portion of the video instead of just staring at my headband while I'm doing my eyeliner. But yeah. Alright, so now I'm just taking some kiss lashes in the style Pageboy, and they're not super dramatic, they're just pretty simple actually. I didn't feel like I needed to go with an even more dramatic lash for this, so I'm just applying glue and waiting until it becomes tacky. Alright, and now that lashes are done, I'm going into this Icy Sherbet primer from Touch of Soul. This is like a K Beauty brand, I believe, because two sides of the box were in Korean, so I'm assuming that's how it is. But this is their Icy Sherbet primer. It's supposed to have like a cooling effect to it. And this I honestly thought was like such a weird product, like the texture, but I actually really like the results that came out of it. And the packaging is kind of cute. I mean, I really like this frosted pink color, and it's kind of like a jelly consistency, but it does really smooth over very well. It blends in very well, and then you're able to blend your foundation just seamlessly on top of that. And so now I'm just taking the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear concealer foundation and putting that on the back of my hand. My bottle is almost empty, but I've got a brand new one, so excited to pop that open because I could hardly get anything out of this one. And anyhow, I just take my beauty blending sponge, and I like to start just on either side of the face, blend it down to the chin, down my chin if I feel like it really needs it. And this is actually a very full coverage foundation, so I feel like I don't ever really need that much product. And I'm just continuing to blend because I really want to have that nice finished look. Alright, and now I'm taking the brand new Ultra Creamy Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. As far as there being a difference between this and the regular Shape Tape, honestly, I do feel like this is creamier, but I do feel like it has the same level of coverage, it has the same level of wear time, I just feel like it's a really good concealer, so I'm glad that I picked this up and that I'm going to have it in my collection, because I kind of was getting over the old Shape Tape, and then I feel like once I discovered this, it blends out easier. I feel like it looks a little more hydrated and doesn't give you that dry kind of like crinkly under eye that nobody likes. And now I'm just going back with a Coty Airspun translucent powder and a small brush to set my under eyes. And then once I have set both eyes, I'm going to powder all over my whole face. And I'm going to use my favorite, I want to say it's called like the Wand Powder Luxe brush by It Brushes, It Cosmetics. But I will try to find it for y'all below. Anyways, using this matte bronzer palette, I'm going to take the lightest shade and start using it as a bronzer. And I noticed as a contour this was a little warm, so I'm just kind of trying to go with it. But yeah, even the lightest shade provides a very warm bronze for at least my skin tone. The first time I used this, I accidentally used a shade that was a little too dark, and it was not very cute. So now I know to just use the lightest shade and stop while I'm ahead. Alright, and then now I'm taking out the Ulta Beauty times Wandavision blush palette, and I just mix together the top two shades and apply them to the apples of the cheeks. I love doing blush. I don't know why. I just think it's fun. And now I'm just using the Urban Decay Perversion mascara to meld my top lashes in with the falsies. And I just find that doing this after I put the falsies on actually makes it so much easier, because when I've tried to do it mascara first, it just looked awful, and you could see like my natural lashes with mascara underneath the actual falsies I had put on, and yeah, hot mess. So now we're finishing up the lower lash line, and I'm taking those two dark shades, Whiskey, and I can't remember what the other one's called, but I'll link it below. And I'm just running this across the lower lash line and blending it out as I go along. Oh, and sorry for my boyfriend just waking up and not being in the background of the video. I didn't notice that till now. Now I'm just using the L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara on my bottom lashes. Alright, and then now you'll see that I'm dipping into this Splendour highlighter by Makeup Revolution. And I think I accidentally bought a shade too dark for me. I should have went one shade up. I just kind of thought that this would work for my skin tone, but I actually feel like it just doesn't show up all that much. So either I need to buy a lighter shade, or this highlighter just doesn't show up very well. But either way, I wasn't totally pleased with the application I was getting, so I ended up switching to my Colourpop Horse and Carriage highlighter that I've been using for like a year straight. I swear to God, like once I got this as a gift, I never stopped using it. And when I hit pan on it, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So that's me just trying to fix my camera and show y'all the finished look, because I think it came out absolutely gorgeous. Alright, so my thoughts about the palette are that the colors are actually like very hard to work with. I felt like it took a lot of blending to get to this point, and even then I still am not totally satisfied with it, but I do like the colors and I think they're very creative and they're very beautiful. But I've definitely had Urban Decay shadows that I feel like perform way better. But that being said, everything else I used, everything else I tried, I'm actually very satisfied with. I wanted to try the new primer with a foundation I'm familiar with, so that's exactly what I did, with the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear. I think that's what it's called. So anyways, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, and I hope to see